Justin, tell us your story, man, and tell us kind of what led up, because I know you did a pretty significant amount of time behind bars, and the Lord worked on you a lot there, and I'm not looking at the same guy that probably went into prison all those years ago. And so I'm really excited to kind of hear the ins and outs of it, because I don't know all the details. And so with it, take it away, man.
All right. Yeah. So, I mean, Justin Jackson, born here, Springfield, Missouri. You know, starting off, I'll just start off a little bit what my childhood was like. There was a lot of events in my life where everything was violence. I was taught at a young age to be a man, was to be selling drugs, have nice things, be intimidated over, intimidate others to get respect. So that kind of grew on me, who I needed to be. I had this outlook of, my stepdads, raising me. And they were all bouncers at the bars and stuff that my mom would work in and stuff. So, what it looked like to me to be a man was to sell drugs and to intimidate others and have the spotlight of, hey, nobody wants to mess with this guy. And it kind of started off with, never really feeling loved as a kid and not knowing what true love was. And, my parents were, in their addiction as well. So, I know how that kind of goes whenever you're in that. You don't know how to love others because you can't even love yourself. And there's a reason why, because you're addicted to drugs, because you're running from something. So, so the childhood was full of violence, full of a lot of, episodes of where I never thought I would make it out of, but I did. So I always knew there was something working behind my scenes, but I didn't know what it was yet. So moving forward, I had my first son. His name is Axel when I was 18. But what kind of led up to that between when I was young, at 11 years old, I started smoking weed real heavily, kind of run from all the trauma that was never was taught, what a role model was. So the role models that I had around me were these, drug dealers and, these people in the streets was showing me that having intimidation over others will get you respect. So I wanted to gain that same respect. Yeah. So I ran to the streets. So at 11 years old, I started smoking weed, and that's when it was the first time I did meth. So ever since... At 11 years old? At 11 years old. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I remember it like it was yesterday. Like, as soon as I started doing that, I figured out this is what I get to do. This is the way that I'm going to do this to numb everything that's happened between being born and, growing up in that childhood to now. Yeah. I was like, wow, this is what I can do, and I can do exactly what they're doing to gain respect. So this is where my life is going to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like you figured the secret out or something.
Yeah, it's like, okay, this
cheat code or whatever.
Yeah, it's like, okay, man, this ain't too bad. I'm going to go ahead and do this because now I don't hurt no more. I get to numb everything.
Right.
And so from there on, I always had problems in school anyway because it was hard for me to pay attention. My mind was just bouncing everywhere. So I was like, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do because I'm not going to make it in school. So from there on, I started running with that crowd, started learning how to sell drugs and all the other good stuff and intimidate people and with, when it comes to the street life, right? So from there on, you can imagine what that was, just violence and drugs and a bunch of nights when I didn't think I'd make it through. So moving forward, when I was... Let's see.
Let me pause you there real quick. So you said a lot of nights you felt like you weren't going to make it through. Can you remember maybe one of those instances, one of those nights or days or whatever where you just really didn't think you were going to go past it? Like what's one of those things look like?
Well, I mean, I'll give you an example. So whenever I say that, it's talking about the kind of monsters my stepdads were. the kind of violence and these guys were like, 6'3", 280 pounds. These guys were monsters compared to a 5-year-old, 6-year-old kid,
Mm-hmm.
I've had everything from all my hair pulling out of my head. I got thrown into the lake one time
Mm-hmm.
while my mom was getting beat up on the side of the shore where she couldn't come help me, and my older brother and my sister saved me. I've been thrown through a glass table. Like, there's been a lot of instances where I would just try to find a place to hide until the next day, and then hearing the screaming of my mom getting beat to death, and I'm so little I can't go help her. Like, those were like the fears that I was talking about, of not knowing if I'd make it to the next day if I didn't know how to hide very well.
Yeah.
And I remember a lot of that, and that's where a lot of my anger and a lot of my hurt and a lot of the stuff that I wanted to numb, because I didn't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to speak out on it, because I was growing up. You don't speak on what goes on at home, because if there's drugs in the house or there's violence in the house, I could be taken away forever, and I never wanted to be away from my parents. So we learned at a young age, you don't say nothing that goes on in this house.
Yeah.
So the criminal code was already put into me as a young kid, So yeah, that's kind of how that part is.
Man.
Yeah.
And can you, I mean, obviously you made it through it and you survived that.
Mm-hmm.
Can you think back in moments where, maybe you recognize that God, like, what was your view of the concept of God back then? Can you recall that?
I can remember the first time I felt the presence. I was 6 or 7. I was at Cherry Street Baptist Church here in town. I remember it was like upstairs in this room. And the preacher asked, and the only reason I got to go there is because there was a bus that ran outside my house. And it just so happened I was out there, and I was like, they said, "Hey, you want to go to church?" And I got in the bus, you know what I mean? And I was like, "Yeah, I'll go anywhere but here. Let's go," I remember going there and feeling the Holy Spirit in the church. And they were like, "Hey, have you ever been saved?" I'm like, "No, what is that?" Well, and there was kids around me, but I just remember that feeling of everything. I was crying, and they were telling me exactly what Jesus was and what he did for us on the cross. And do I believe in him? And I was like, well, I don't know him, but I believe exactly what I'm feeling right now. So that was the first time I really felt the presence. But my grandma, she'd always she was a Christian lady, she'd always talk with me about God, and she'd always tell me, "Man, you're really destined for a lot of great things in your life." And I would just always kind of be like, I don't know about all that, because I never felt worth anything, because I was like, if people are going to treat me like this as a kid, I'll probably never be worth anything in my life. And so that instilled a lot of my, the way I grew up was never believing in myself and always seeking recognition of others, because I've never shown that love. And even when I was doing something good, I would seek out, "Hey, I wonder if I'm doing good." I would ask, "Hey, you think I'm doing good?" So that tells you, there's got to be some childhood trauma there, because you're always seeking somebody's approval.
Sure.
Sure. Yeah.
So you've got this really rocky start to life. You're introduced to just a powerful substance early in life. Where did you, like after I met you and you were out of prison, you'd done 15 years. Mm-hmm. You did that consecutive. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Well, so in between those times, I got out for like 3 months one time, 3 months another time. Okay. But same thing is, every time I get out there, I didn't know how to handle life still. Yeah. So I would just, I would do good for about 3 months and then run right back to the drugs and then come right back to prison. Yeah. And then it happened a couple of times where, I felt like prison was my home. I was like, well, I'm going to get comfortable here, because I think this is where I'm going to be the rest of my life, because it's the only place I know how to live. What got you sent to prison the first time? So the first time is I caught a burglary charge. My mom lived in these duplexes, and using meth. I'd been up for a couple, 2 or 3 weeks, a month, maybe, I don't know, a long time, right? And so you're not already thinking, right? And then I went and drank a bunch of alcohol and walked back to my mom's that night, went into the wrong house, fell asleep. The woman came home and I'm sleeping on the floor, and she dropped her groceries and I ran out of the house. Well, she identified me later on because I lived right across the street at my mom's.
Oh, yeah.
So that was the first charge I got. I didn't go to prison right then and there. They gave me 8 years with a 5-year backup. But I wasn't done serving the streets. I wasn't done running the streets and selling drugs.
Yeah.
So I ended up turning that 8 into 12, and then so on and so forth. So that's how I pulled out so much time on that.
Yeah.
It's just, they reinstated my probation after I did a little bit of time. And then, so that's how I turned the 8 into a 12. And so, I would get out and just go right back in. Every time I get out there, I wouldn't know how to handle stressful situations without getting high to numb myself.
Yeah.
And, when I first started, I didn't start getting high to act cool. I just wanted to do it to numb all the stuff inside of me that was going on and all the noise in my head, because it would quiet it for a minute.
Yeah. It's a coping mechanism.
Yeah, it was definitely that. Yeah.
I think that seems to be, I know that was mine when I was in the throes of my addiction. That was what motivated me, and that seems to be what motivates a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And then it just spirals.
Yeah.
and
out of control.
Yeah. And even though, I'm sure there were times where you would use and know that it would send you right back.
Yeah.
But you would do it anyway.
Yeah, I needed it.
It's powerful.
Yeah, I needed it,
Yeah.
I felt like, and whenever, you ride that roller coaster, man, I feel great and I want to do all this stuff, and then it wears off, and then it's worse than it was before you were trying to numb that noise,
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's a powerful thing for sure.
Yeah. So you were in and out of prison for all these years, and kind of get into kind of the nitty gritty of being behind bars. I've not, like, the only prison I've never done time. I've got a series of arrests and stuff like that, but the only experience I have going into a prison is the treatment center that's in Fordland, OCC. Did you ever go through that facility?
No, that's the one I never did. I've done every treatment here in Missouri besides the OCC. Always try to get there, though.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people
close to home, It's like, man, maybe people will actually come visit me if I'm like 30 minutes away,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why I was like, man, if I can just get to OCC, I'm going to get a visit more often. But so starting off, when I first went down for my big chunk of time, I started off in a level 5. Even so, with that type of it's a violent case when somebody comes home and you're in their house. It's breaking, entering. It's a violent case, even if you don't have a weapon. So, that happened, and I went off to level 5. It's called Licking, Missouri. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you what, this place was violent for sure. Second week I was there, I got stabbed in the face by my cellie.
Wow.
He tried to take my life. But because I reacted the way I did and to defend my life, I had to go down the hole too. And then what's crazy is they don't care about you there. They put that guy in the same cell block as me in the hole right across the way from me, right?
Wow.
He ended up doing 9 months, and I ended up doing 30 days in the hole. And then from there, the first time I had to defend myself in the prison, I think that was almost like the first time that I did a drug. I knew that I felt like I was invincible. So that kind of started me off like, oh man, this ain't nothing. Like, here I go.
Yeah.
So I was in the cell with this other guy, and I figured out, this guy had done a lot of time. I figured out how much drugs were in prison. And I knew, I was like, man, I don't even care about life no more. Like none of my people are here. Like, I don't really have a lot of support. I'm like, man, I'm just going to continue to do what I did out there, and started to do drugs in prison. And so I was finding out how to get, drugs and how to, hustle them in there. We were making homemade needles so we can shoot up drugs in there. Like,
Wow.
yeah, like it was crazy. Like the extent that we would go to just keep numbing the pain. Cause now we're behind bars. Like the system is set up to fail you.
Yeah.
Like, and the way they, you know, there was just like, I remember nights that, when I was in the hole, I would just sit and listen to people scream because they were being sexually assaulted.
Oh my
You know?
gosh.
And I just sit there. Sometimes I'd have to just, you know, wrap up my head so I wouldn't be able to go to sleep because I'd be hearing people in the next cell screaming, getting raped all night, and there wasn't no guards there to help them. You know.
Wow.
So you know, a lot of the stories that you hear in the movies, it's true. But it's even worse when you're there in person.
Yeah.
But I got back out to the yard and, like I said, started doing drugs and started running and gunning. But we'll go ahead and fast forward. You know, prison's a dark place. It's either you make it or you don't. Lives get taken there. People get taken advantage of in there. You know, you got they put people that are there for tickets all the way up to people that are there for murder, and they put them in the same cell.
Wow.
So you know, you never know who you're going to land with and who's going to try to take your life when you go to prison.
Sure.
You might get lucky, and you might not run into that, and you might not wake up the next day. Who knows?
Yeah.
You know. So, and so fast and forward, I went to Bowling Green for the last, you know, 2 or 3 years of my sentence. And it was a level 2, so it's a lower level, but that was worse than the level 5 I was in. And it was crazy up there. I mean, I've watched 6 or 7 guys stab this guy to death in the shower.
Wow.
You know, I've watched, there was just so many things that were going on in there. But here's where it really got bad, because about 12 years ago, I started really trying to hide what I was doing when it came to like smoking weed stuff. So I started doing K2. That was a demon for me. That took a hold of 12 years of my life. There's been times that I was manufacturing, and I learned how to manufacture the stuff. And this is whenever they were still selling it in all the head shops and stuff like that. So I did it to chase the money, but at the same time, I knew this demon inside of this drug was getting a hold of me.
Yeah.
And it did. I don't remember. In and out, making money and passing out for 12 years. That's what my life was. I even, you know, posted a video the other day on Facebook of what that stuff did to me.
Wow.
And what's, you know what I mean? Like, this probably is worse. There was a worse of a demon for me than meth was. That's saying a lot.
Yeah.
And it's still present. It's still black market. People still are addicted as I was to it. But
I don't hear about it all that much. I didn't know it's still a thing.
no, it's a big thing here.
Wow.
Yeah, so people don't know that. And the only reason I did, because I spent that much time in the streets.
Yeah. Yeah.
But here's what happened is that 5 years before about 5 to 8 years ago, they started putting that stuff on paper, and we were getting it in prison. So I was
That's why I couldn't bring my Bible in last year.
yeah, because they soak, you know, Bibles, whatever they can get it on.
Yeah.
So I got addicted to that in prison.
Gosh.
You know what I mean? So now, anytime I ever made money or got any money, I was spending it on there and just staying knotted out. And I wanted to sleep through my hole, you know?
Yeah.
Because that stuff, when you hit it, you just kind of turn into a paralyzed person almost. And so I just remember smoking that stuff in there and selling drugs and collecting money for people. So, you know, putting my hands on people and just become this monster, just like my stepdads were. And then one day I was just like, you know, looking in the mirror and just like, I covered up my mirror because every time I looked past it, I just was disgusted with myself.
Yeah.
Here I am out of my kids' life all this time. Never got to be a dad to them. Promised myself that I would never be like that to my kids, and I was worse than my stepdads, I felt like. So, you know, going through all that, in between the times that I were locked up, I've lost so many people that were my loved ones while I was locked up and never could go say final goodbyes, and that's my fault. So all these things were just like digging me in the hole and made me feel more worthless than I already felt.
Yeah.
Losing 3 brothers to fentanyl. You know, while I was in there, my little brother, he slept in the bed with me since, until I was like 14, 15 years old. He died November 2024, November 12th. And it was like a month before my out date.
Wow.
2 or 3 months before my out date.
Wow.
And I didn't get to say goodbye to my little brother due to that. So that's whenever I was on the bad side of the prison, and I decided, I got on my hands and knees and I said, hey, God, look, I don't know. I'm probably not worth anything. Probably you won't waste your time with me. But if you're real, I need to get out of this life, and I'll serve you. I want to do something different. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the next day they called my name out and told me I was moving to the honor side of the prison, where all the violence wasn't at, the drugs ain't over there. The violence ain't over there. These are people that's been doing good, no write-ups. So, you know what I mean? The next day.
Were you expecting any of that?
No, I didn't put in for anything. So it was like, I was like, okay, it was, and that's whenever I started getting clean before I got home.
Wow.
That's whenever I started making the transition before I got home.
Wow.
Started getting deep into it. That's when I started writing Christian rap music. I've only been doing that for maybe a year and a half, and so I got out. But, we always think that once we give our life to God, there's not going to be no bumps in the road. We're good. We don't have to look over our shoulder no more. We don't have to worry about addiction or anything from our past creeping up on us. But that's where we kind of get it twisted. Because just because, you're starting to try to grow your faith and you're giving life to God, guess what? You're about to get tested.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's where people fall off in their faith, because they're like, well, I gave my life to you. I thought everything was going to be perfect. No, you got to buckle up, just like you told me.
Yeah.
You better buckle up, because I got out. And right after you see me is when I just got out of jail, because I got out of prison. And I was doing good for 3 months.
Yeah.
It was something about 3 months every time. My grandma died, my hero. The woman that really raised me my whole life. It was always there for me no matter what.
Yeah.
Always believed in me, told me that God had something special for you. I always sit down with my grandma, and, I have so many great memories with her. She was always there for me. Mm-hmm. And she passed away, and I just decided, I was like, well, that was my crutch to get high again, though.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready yet anyway.
Yeah.
Even though I was giving my life to God and writing music for Him and going to church, everything wasn't rooted. It says you got to dig all the way into the roots, and I didn't.
Yeah.
I thought, this mediocre surrender to God would work to change my life, but it didn't. So then I was on an ankle bracelet when I got out of prison, and I went and got high and then got a warrant out for my arrest. Went back to jail for 30 days.
Did it monitor for drug use or something?
Yeah.
Did it?
Yeah.
So, caught you?
So with that being said, that's whenever I ended up calling Shane, and he runs the God's Gangsters program.
Yeah.
And
we had him on an earlier episode, actually.
Nice. Yeah.
Tell that story.
I called Shane, and he was like, "Yeah, we'll send you a accepted letter." And I was like, "Man, okay." And I got out. I didn't think I thought I was going back, but I got out, and that was like my platform. That was my platform, because they already had the churches they were going to, and they had everything figured out. But that's where we thought, okay, well, I'm gonna surrender to Christ. I'm gonna surrender, and everything's gonna be all right. So I do good in the program, become house manager. 6 months down the road, bam, I relapsed. But here's the thing. The whole time I was building that relationship, whenever I relapsed, God was just showing me something. I knew it. You know what I mean? I knew God was trying to show me, like, here's what can happen. Here's what's going to happen if you go back to that lifestyle.
Yeah.
You're going back to prison, or you're going to lose your life. So 2 days later, I went and checked in a detox and came back out and started rocking harder for the Lord than I ever thought I could.
Yeah.
fully surrendering, dying to myself daily, asking him, what can I do to be better, to serve you? Break me for what breaks you. Whatever that looks like, Lord, I'm a trust in you.
Yeah.
I quit worrying about the what people thought about me, what people said I couldn't do, who loves me, who don't love me. Guess what? At the end of the day, I knew God was working behind the scenes, and he loves me through all of this. So I'm like, the whole time I'm writing all this music, I wrote like, 20, 30 songs while I was in prison. It's like, no, I'm never going to do anything with it, right? Well, now in the last 6 months, we got like 18, 19 professionally recorded songs. I come up with a Christian rap group with my good buddy. He has a Christian rock band. You inspired me when I came out, and that's what inspired me to keep going with the music, because you told me, like, hey, look, if this is what you want to do to edify the kingdom, this is your path. You're allowed to do that, and it don't matter what people say you can or can't do.
And people will try to get in the way of that.
They will.
Have you experienced it yet?
Oh, man. You know what I mean? Like, the people that said they love you and support you, they're not showing up.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you're like, it's not about that.
Yeah.
It's about who's going to hear this message and not put a needle in their arm that day. Who's going to hear this message and not want to jump off the ledge or do whatever they thought they were doing to end their life, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
There's been so many people, like whenever I go down the street and I pray with people, there's been so many people that was like, hey, I just needed to hear that I'm worth living. And, and I always try to tell people, I say, hey, look, it don't matter where you're at in your faith. It don't matter what other people think about you. It don't matter if you're sitting there and you got blood running down your arm from shooting up drugs. God still loves you.
Yeah.
And he'll love you right where you're at. You don't have to have a perfect relationship to talk to him. He wants to hear from you right where you're at. Mm-hmm. Because he hung with all the, the tax collectors and all the people that were just like you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what makes you think that he's not going to love you where you're at?
Yeah.
Because if he can save somebody like me out of all the stuff that I've done and been through, he can do that for anybody.
That's it.
You know what I mean? So,
and to echo what you just said, he even told Jesus told the Pharisees at one point, where he's like, "Hey, I'm not here for the healthy people. I'm here for the sick people."
Yeah.
Like that's the whole reason he came.
Yeah.
And so has that. Because I know, so going back to for a second, where you're always looking for acceptance and validation and all of that, do you feel like that's shifted a little bit now that you have a relationship with the Lord? And tell me about that.
I've never, I had this identity of myself of, nobody's going to love me. Like, I'm not good enough. Like, that was instilled into me really deeply.
Yeah.
So the validation of others is what built up my confidence, because I never thought I was a good looking guy or that I would be worth anything or I'll never find love like everybody else will. You know what I mean? I never felt that.
Yeah.
But man, there ain't nothing like the feeling of having the Holy Spirit just grab onto you and you get the goosebumps and you feel that warm feeling inside of your body. There's nothing better than that. There's no other love that I ever compete with that.
Yeah.
There's no other love. So whenever I started feeling that, and every day I die to myself daily, and I ask, hey, Lord, just help me to help others feel that thing that you made me not have to validate the people that say they're there and they say they love you, because that'll let you down. That'll put you right back in the rabbit hole. That'll put you right back under.
Yeah.
But if you worry about the love that you get from him, that's all the validation you need. You don't need no validation from nobody else anymore.
And that's ministry, man.
Yeah.
And you're using music as that tool. You're using your past as that tool. And like what I love about this so much is I think a lot of times people, and I do sometimes, I think we all are can get to a point where we struggle in our faith. We doubt sometimes. And when I hear stuff like what you're saying, and I hear your story, and I see what you're involved in and the heart that you have, to me, that goes in the pile of evidence that God is real. He is who he says he is. He wants to do the things that he promises in Scripture, but it takes, and I've heard you say it, surrender. Not partial surrender, but full surrender.
Every day.
Yeah, and that's a daily thing. And in fact, it even says, I forget, it's in the New Testament where it says to take up your cross daily and follow Him. And the cross was an instrument of death, and so we do need to put ourselves to death. Man, it's just exciting, Justin, to see the trajectory. And I think about the guys that I work with and the struggles that even I have sometimes, where you're like, man, I messed up, or I am a failure, or whatever, but you keep going. And I forget where it says it too, but a righteous man will get up 7 times when he stumbles. You've continued to do that, and you've not let these things define you.
Right.
You've not found identity in that. You found it in your Savior.
Yeah.
So tell me about some of the, and you can talk about it as much or as little as you want to, about your music ministry. Tell us what it's called. We'll link to it in the description and the video.
Sure. Yeah.
We'll point people on our social media for that. But tell us the name of your ministry and kind of what you guys do, and you can even talk about the project we talked about if you want. You don't have to, but
yeah. So I did want to say this, like, so obviously the whole time. I mean, I didn't get a driver's license till I was 30. I'm 36, you know what I mean? Like, I've been driving cars and had cars my whole life, but never had a driver's license.
Yeah.
You know, that's funny. I wanted to tell that so people get a laugh for sure. But
now you don't have to worry when a cop comes behind you, huh?
yeah. So that's funny you say that. But yesterday was my 1-year anniversary at Gold Mountain. You know, I'm a sales development coach. I've never been at a job for more than a month, you know, my whole life. And so I was able to use those things that I learned in the streets and in prison and apply it to something that actually is good for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, not to glorify, but sometimes we use those parts out of our life to do something good. The same thing I did with the music. So that's why I was leading up to that.
Yeah.
I got out, started doing the music thing. Didn't know if I was ever going to do anything with it, right? Just kept praying on it. And I was like, God, just make it on your time, because I'm always trying to rush things as a human, right? So started doing recording by myself. The music is real A-OK. I got that whenever I was in prison, praying, hey, God, what's the music name and everything? And I came up with Real A-OK, because everybody used to call me Real. That stands for Real Acts of Kindness. Because we always think that, you know, being a Christian is knowing everything in the Bible, word for word, and going to church and being seen. But the real thing that we you know, seem to forget is it's loving on others. It's about judging and not judging others, you know, not looking down on people, and loving people at their lowest of lows, because we wanted to have love like that. So it's remembering to love everybody at their point in life. And even if they, you know, like the people that are homeless, they need it the most, you know. It's about getting out there and getting dirty in those low points of life. It's all the work is done some in the church, but you got to remember that God wants you to go out and minister to those broken people in the streets. So that's where that came from. And then I ran into a good buddy of mine, and now we are music partners. And so now we have One of 100, which is 1OF100. God inspired us to do the One of 100. Stands for the, you know, He will leave the 99 to save the one. We all have that story of God being after us, you know, and chasing after us, because He never went anywhere. We're the ones running from Him. Yeah. So that's where that was inspired. So now we have a couple songs out right now. It's on every platform out there. We have plenty more, but they had to go through a channel and go through all that good stuff. But there's a lot more to come. We just did our first little concert, the Friday Night Fire. God has some big visions, you know. And the thing with that, it's never for pride or ego. It's to get the people out of the dark places like we were at. Yeah. And that's where I first heard it, when I was in that cell, was whenever I would be able to watch the tablet and watch these rappers edifying the kingdom. And man, I remember that feeling of hearing the message through the music. And that's what put me on fire to do this. So, not that, but God inspired.
Would you ever think, going back to those times, watching them guys or listening to them, that you'd be the one getting out and doing ministry?
I had the vision.
Did you?
Yeah, I had the vision.
Did you?
You know, I'd be sitting there and just with my eyes closed, just talking to God. I was like, what are you? Well, you know, everybody has a spiritual gift. Obviously, you've showed me mine, and I am grateful for it. What are we doing here? You know,
Yeah.
I just talked to him like me and you were talking. You know, because that's all he wants. You just talk to him.
Yeah.
And man, I had these visions of being out there and being on the stage and being able to watch people, just the light come in their eyes from the dark place, and people getting baptized at the shows. And I'm like, man, I'm going to do that same thing, and I'm going to see people get hope out of their dark place. And that's what I want to do it for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of that vision. So, you know, like I said, we want to rush things. We want things to happen fast. But I keep reminding myself, I say, hey, God, on your time, just let that one person not want to end their life or get high again today.
Yeah.
Through hearing something through my music and something that I said that I've been through. That's all I want.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and I know, when you say that, I know exactly what you mean, because if what you're doing helps one person, it's worth it.
That's it.
And let me just say this, just to try to encourage you. And I mean, you've inspired and encouraged me, and it gives me that drive. And so keep going, man. And I'm so excited to see what's next for you.
Yeah.
I'm excited for, as Three Town Hope gets busier and we do more events, man, we'll have a spot to throw a microphone at you, man, and share your story.
Yeah.
Bring your music and share that with as many people as we can. So as we close, Justin, we get a lot of comments from people through our social media that talk about how they're still in the struggle. They still feel alone. And the big question, and this is just kind of a general problem for Christianity, is why do I have to go through what I'm going through? I mean, I hear about your childhood, and I hear about the things that you went through that were no fault of your own, that set you up for this path of destruction, is what I hear. But you found your way out. God found you. He pulled you out, and you've surrendered that your life, and you've devoted to serving the Lord and helping people. But for the person that's in it right now, the person that doesn't see the light at the end of the tunnel, the person that is still in the struggle, that really doubts that God is even real, what would you tell them right now?
There's a kid out there right now that's not able to get up, not able to walk, not able to grab things because they don't have arms or legs. And so those people are living their best life. So if you have the ability to get up, and even if you don't, you have the ability to pray. You have ability to hit the ground and ask God what he can do different in your life. So think about the people that might have it worse than you. Mm-hmm. And another thing is it's not going to look perfect at first. It's not going to be everything you think it's going to be is going to be fixed in a day. What I would say is, if you're breathing, and that's all that matters. If you can pray and you have a voice, and if you even don't have a voice, that God gave you all these things. He created all these things for you to be able to love him. And he gave his life for you on that cross. Just think about the things that he went through to make sure that you can live. He loved us so much that he stood on that cross whenever he could have got down. And he still forgave the people that did it to him. So that right there is more powerful than anything. So if he gave his life for you, then live and die to your old self and live for him.
I think that's about the best way we could possibly end this thing, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your story, for being bold. Thank you for inspiring me. Keep going, man. And I'm just so excited to see what's next for you, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
Appreciate you, man.